Hey, aloha everyone. I did an interview with Ellie Cochran a while back for the Nanaleo TV show, TV station, and I wanted to share some of that with you because it's really what she shared was absolutely amazing. And if you want to learn about her perspective, Ellie Cochran is the Lahaina state representative in Lahaina. She grew up in Lahaina. She supports the people there currently, right now. She lives there. And what you're going to be learning is her perspective of what happened the day of the fires. And it's absolutely amazing and astounding what she went through. So I want to remind you guys that I founded Blossom Inner Wellness and Stand Together Hawaii.com. Stand Together Hawaii.com. I also just finished the book, The Great Maui Land Grab, What Caused the Maui Fire and Is Your House Next? And you can get this at greatmauifire.com, because every freedom loving person should be getting this book. It doesn't just go over the Maui fires, it goes over the chronological history of how the banking elite family has taken over this country and what we can do about it. Because you guys, we have power. We are we are so much stronger than what we've come to believe. So I could get on my soapbox about that, but without further ado, I do want to share what Ellie Cochran had to say to me in an interview that I did with her a few weeks back, because it's absolutely astounding. And we should be really not forgetting Lahaina, not forgetting Maui. So let me just share sound, optimize the video, and get this going for you. Ellie Cochran, Hawaii State Representative. Also, just so you know, you're going to hear my voice. I'm going to go back and forth, but this is Ellie Cochran, Hawaii State Representative for Lahaina. And this is what she's sharing is her perspective of the Maui fire.
Yeah, well, that earlier morning, it was a fire started above me. I'm in a subdivision called Kilauea Mauka off Lahaina Luna Road, just below the schools, Lahaina Luna and Lahaina Intermediate, Princess Nahi and Anna. And I'm below the bypass. So the original fire started above the bypass, and it had been contained, according to the news. Kids were stayed home, no school for them, and it was okay, fine. Fire is contained, so just went about my day. It was really super windy, like some of the windiest I've ever seen in Lahaina in my entire life, and I've been here all my life. And it kept going. I was trying to clean things up in the yard, then was like, it's hot and windy, went in the house, took a nap. Power was out at this point. No power, no
Well, what
no
time? What time was that?
TV. It was probably like mid morning ish. I'm thinking early afternoon, because then I get up from a nap with the really strong smoke smell and go outside like, what's going on? I thought fire was contained, and notice, where are all my neighbors? I didn't see like any cars from the road. I'm like, okay, this is really odd. So then I drove down the road and I looked down, and just a block from me in my subdivision, the entire street is up in flames. And I see the fire truck. So I see the firemen. I'm like, okay, great, fire is here. They're going to contain this thing. And they get out and they open up the fire hydrant, and it's just trickling, spurting. Water is not coming out. So I'm like, I call fire chief at the time. I have him in my cell phone. I said, hey chief, this is Ellie. Does Kilauea Mauka, where I live, need to evacuate? He goes, why? I go, because there's like a really big fire. He goes, well, I'm on vacation, or he was in Colorado at the time taking his daughter to college. So he wasn't even on island, and he had no clue anything, the fire was happening. And I checked my phone records. That was at 3:58 when I called him. He said, let me call you right back. 5 minutes later, he called me back and said, yes, evacuate. I said, well, is grid locked up here? And he goes, we'll send police to go and direct traffic. I go, it's too late. Because I now see the firemen leave their hoses, hop in their fire truck, and dig out. I'm like, well, firemen are not staying to fight the fire. I'm out of here. And ran home, grabbed my dogs, a suitcase, and drove out through the fire. Houses on on either side of the road down on Kahena Street is on fire. Homes are gone at this point. Cars on fire, and I get through Kahoma subdivision. I see fireballs just flying through the air and dropping erratically all around me, and then I hit thick as black as smoke. It was broad daylight, and it just got pitch black. I could not see an inch in front of me, but I knew the road was straight, so I just kept going straight in my truck. And then thankfully the smoke blew over, and I just sped off onto Kiawe Street, the bypass road, and that's where I ended up, out of the fire zone and smoke, onto Kiawe, which goes uphill, and now I'm heading south on the bypass road. Stopped, looked back, just couldn't believe my eyes. I was in shock. I didn't know what to feel. It was like, is this really happening in front of me kind of feeling? And that was just the start of that horrific day. Getting just moved down the road with the police going, hundreds of cars just parked along the shoulder of the bypass, and we all just kept moving till we were headed out south. And it was probably, this 5 a.m. in the morning, when by the time me and my cousin just drove and headed towards Kihei and got out of town, spent the night there, and then the next day I had to come back. I just knew I needed to come back to Lahaina and see what, people needed help, what happened. But they locked the roads down, and so I was able to get on a convoy with Maui Brewing Company and Trilogy boat excursions. They brought in some of the first supplies back into Lahaina, and I was able to get in the convoy truck with them to get back into town. And that was that day to the next morning situation.
How did you feel after you heard about how the emergency was handled by the different people? What were your thoughts about that?
Mad. I think first, just I felt there was lack of communication, number one. Overall, not just that day, but weeks on end during the aftermath. There was just no communication. I mean, no cell, no Wi-Fi, no coordination, no anything. And, everyone did the best they could with no communication. So what could we all do but just take care of what's in front of us and the people that are surrounding us at that time, in that moment? And that's what the entire community had done. Yeah. Is just every day, all of us just pulled it together, combined resources, skills, and just helped and did what we could. So it was just, I don't know, it was like a war zone, and lack of communication had broke down. And unfortunately, I don't know, it seems like all the decision makers were not even on island when it occurred. So that was odd in itself, but that was the reality of what was happening. Mm. So they were only getting fed what information they got, and it was completely lacking of reality of what was really happening, because they physically were in it themselves. So I don't know how they're getting information out of Lahaina, back to, Maui Emergency Management, HAIMA, National Guard, whoever, president, governor, mayor, anybody. I'm not sure who was talking to who about what, but looking at those transcripts, it was not a joke, but there was LOLs and whatever and text messages. It was just totally unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And as we were all suffering, and it was life and death situations happening.
Yes. Are you familiar with the Maui Emergency Center's redaction of their sign-in sheet? They have.
I mean, I read that article about it, that one particular day and that certain hour, that time frame, somehow there's no sign-up sheet. People were supposed to sign in and out into the EOC, and for some reason that one particular page is nowhere to be found. I feel that's very odd and suspicious in itself. So I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems very suspicious.
So the death toll The death toll went up to 115, dropped to 97, and it landed at finalized at 101. How do you feel about the death toll when it was going up and down like that?
No, I till today don't believe it's only at 101.
Yeah.
Personally, again, I don't have proof, but I just a feeling that there was one interview I saw a guy down by the 505 area said just his neighbors, immediate neighbors, 19 people died. Just his immediate neighbors. That was in one guy from one house in one subdivision explaining his direct neighbors are gone. And that was his head count. Like, okay, what about behind the mill where the cluster of most of the deaths are documented? I mean, there's got to be, I don't know. Personally, I just think there's got to be more. And I just look back on the town of Lahaina itself as literally like it's like a graveyard. It's people died.
Yeah.
They just scrape the streets, and now they're scraping the lots. And the fire was so hot and melted everything and disintegrated people included. And I don't know. It's just still a lot of devastation and trauma happening here.
What blew my mind the most around the death count is there were so many reports about the possibility that there's numerous children that have died. And even the governor, when he was in an interview, I can't remember which news station it was, but he even said that they were telling the rescuers that there's probably a lot of children, and yet the official count only ended up with 3. So all these keiki who were at home by themselves, could there have been another way for them, another place that they could have gone, or another way that they could have gotten out, or I don't know.
I don't know. Then where are the parents of the kids that survive, or where are the kids who survive with no parents, or where? I don't know the answer to that. I did speak to a student of Lahaina Intermediate the other evening at the Lahaina Luna graduation, and she said at least half of her classmates aren't here. Now, I don't know, and I didn't ask, are they because they died or moved away, but that's an actual figure from a student saying that half her class is not here anymore in Lahaina. So what the reason is behind the half, I'm not positive, but there might be something to that number.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank you for that. So after the fire, a lot of things were happening. There was a 5-mile dust screen that was put around Lahaina. There, nobody could go in for, I believe it was 3 months for that. What was that like?
It was odd. I was in there, and I got the police chief. That was that particular moment they were locking down Lahaina. I had gone in because my cousin's house survived. We noticed the graveyard that we caretake and where my mom is buried actually survived too. So we were in there like, oh, look, things are okay, and let's start cleaning up or whatever. And police chief saw us and go, what are you doing? And we're like, well, we're coming back to the property. And he's like, no, you need to get out now. We're locking down this whole place. He goes, well, I guess there were looting. Okay, I heard that was going on. But there was like some big altercation supposedly down at the food line in Lahaina, looting, and the looters with cops. So they're like, we're locking this place down. Also, people were just willy-nilly running around, randomly Facebooking, self-photo, whatever stuff. And they're like, we got to put a stop to this. Because they didn't clean up the town yet. So, right, what are you seeing? Dead body, things, right? So, things they just didn't want out there in the world to see yet. And so that's hence the reason, according to police chief, for the lockdown at that time. And that was the start. And then the dust screens went up and the boulders were put up, and all that occurred. You know, where I live also, they locked us out, basically. They were trying to, and I'm like, hey, we live in here. This is our home, and how dare you? So it was basically, we lived under curfew. We couldn't leave between 10 and 6. We, you know, I mean, it was just hell. Just trying to bring in our own water and just, you know, necessities to survive. They wouldn't let us drive cars in. We're like, wait a minute, you want Kukuta to haul in their own cases of water and all this other stuff? And it was total chaos. It was a lot of hardship. It was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of lack of compassion, I'd say, at that time. A lot of people, I mean, a little bit of kindness would have gone a long way for all of us. It felt like a lot of people power tripping on us. And it was a hard time. And I thought that they could have done better and treated us, the people, or the survivors, better with compassion and kindness and a little more help than more dictating, you know, do's and don'ts and, you know, zones and whatever. It was like very regimented, like a military sort of reality, and a like curfew was imposed and all this stuff. It was odd. I'm like, what country am I in right now?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it didn't help all of our trauma and, you know, devastation we were feeling too at the same time with all that negative type of, you know, energy put on us. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't an easy time.
So the cleanup that's happening right now with, well, first the Alawalu site, which, I mean, a lot of people said, no, we don't want it. We don't want this temporary spot for the toxic waste to go there. Why do you think that they still allowed that to happen in Alawalu?
Well, it was once upon a time a landfill. It's a closed landfill, right? So originally that is where all the trash went from Lahaina.
I see.
And so I think that's probably one of the main reasons that it once was this. It wasn't toxic debris site, but it was household waste from our town and our mill camps and whatever. And I think that's probably the main reason. And it's nearby, right? It's just a few miles outside of Lahaina. It wasn't have to track everything over the poly and all this stuff. So I think those are probably the two top reasons. And yeah, I mean, I hear the concerns of everybody. And technically, I always thought it should go to the Central Maui landfill to begin with. And come to find out, you know, the lands weren't owned by county, so they had to negotiate with the actual landowner who had purchased the land for under $1 million. Then he was asking for, I don't know, $10+ million or something for a property he'd even paid $1 million for, knowing the county was desperate to have it. So that held stuff up. So you know, so many political whatever.
Yeah. So I've
greed reasons.
I've heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard that Lahaina homeowners were not able to remove their own toxic, their own soil and their own debris. They had to have the city do it, and if they didn't, they couldn't get a permit. Or what? Was there any truth to that, or what was going on with the homeowners wanting to remove their own toxic waste without the help of the city? I don't know if you know anything about that.
I think that had gone through different iterations, but currently it's up to each individual landowner's choice. Do you want to take advantage of the county, Army Corps, FEMA help you clear, or you can do it on your own? It'd probably be a whole lot more. And you still got to jump through the hoops of getting your soil tested by EPA, and you got to go through the same hoops. So I think majority of the people are letting the whole FEMA route take over and do the debris removal of their lots. A lot has been accomplished in that arena. I know my church is going down the FEMA route also to get cleared and to have the church and the hall rebuilt, with federal money. And so, yeah, it's each individual, and I don't think anyone's stopping a person from, you want to clear it. And then there's there's I think 10 lots who have not applied for any type of clearing of their property. So, but majority of people have answered one way or the other, are in the process of clearing and, you know, looking to looking to rebuild at some point.
So you mentioned FEMA. Has FEMA helped? Because I know there was a big old controversy about FEMA being in hotels and using it for a vacation for themselves. I don't know if that's any truth to that. But has FEMA helped the people?
I think that's a yes and a no. I think FEMA in some levels, but you lately, right? They're pulling stakes. They're cutting back on housing in hotels. They're cutting back on feeding. You know, they're cutting. I mean, there's a lot of cutting back, which we all knew from day one. FEMA's only here temporarily. They're not going to be here forever and ever, holding our hand and funding us. But in the meantime, what has the government done to pre-plan for this time? And now everyone's scrambling like, oh my God, you know, what happened? Like, what do you mean what's happening? We knew this day would be coming, and it's here and it's happening. So where's the solutions? Again, I am still frustrated with no solution and no plan. And it is frustrating because at the end of the day, it's the community and the residents that are suffering. Yeah. All the money that has been expended on Lahaina, $45 million a month on hotel rooms, if we divided all that money between all the people who lost homes in Lahaina town, they would have had everything done by now. Infrastructure would have been built, lots would have been cleared, properties would have been already, new foundations laid, frames up, houses built. I mean, really, literally, 9 months, almost 10 months later, that would have been happening by now. But look where we're at. I don't know why people are dragging their feet. I don't know why things are just, why we're in this situation. We should never be. And being state, we have our own state land. We haven't laid one finger on even trying to clean it. We should be at the top of the list of rebuilding and rehousing the people we took care of. And yet we have not lifted one finger to do any of it. We're doing temporary this, temporary that, temporary tents, temporary houses, temporary what? Why temporary? Get the people who lost their place back on their properties. It's still here. You know, so what? I don't understand why everything has to be. I get FEMA pays for temporary, but again, we have money too as a state, and I don't know. It's frustrating for me as one voice on the state level, looking at all of this, going. There's an existing community plan. We can't change that until we readdress it. There's the existing zoning. We rebuild. What was commercial? What was apartment? What was residential? What was whatever? It's already, that's spelled out. We rebuilt to how it was. You know, what was, I mean, not maybe the exact same structure, build it smarter, better materials, right? More renewable energies, whatever, all the good stuff. But again, the initial land use designation is already there, and an existing community plan is already there. There's no changing that until the council revisits it. And last I spoke to the mayor's office a week ago, that's not any time in the future. So that's what we have to work with, is that layout. I don't have much more to say about any of that.
What about the building permits? I know that they were have any building permits been given? Because I remember reading one building permit to one homeowner.
Yeah, they're all celebrating a couple weeks back. We gave the first building permit. Like, is that something to celebrate? 9 months later, you gave what? Really? Okay. At this rate, we'll never get built in people's lifetimes then. So there is a company, and they're doing the work they were hired to do. They've taken applications. They're checking off the boxes. I had a meeting with them also, and they're you know, it's State Historic Preservation Department is one of the holdups, which has always been the case pre-fire for decades now. And so I've been trying to set up a meeting to speak directly to them, to ask them how are they doing things differently. How will they help to expedite their process to check that box off, to move these permits along. Also, Commission on Water Resource Management, CWORM, that's the other entity that I've been trying to get a meeting with also to talk about new uses of water. The county really needs assistance with that. They haven't been getting any response from either of these departments. So I told them I would see what I could do, and I'm still working on it also. But my thing is water. There's already existing uses, which is the entire town of Lahaina. There's water here for that. So why are we talking about all these new added uses when if we're supposed to be rebuilding what got burnt and is destroyed, then why are we rebuilding where the waters are already allocated to? We don't need to ask for new uses. It's already here for use. But I don't get why May 23rd, in the back of the Maui News classified ads, the tiniest print declaration, it's the water shortage declaration. West Maui is under a water shortage declaration right now as we speak. It was put in the back of the Maui News. Why is this not on the front page of the Maui News or in the news itself, alerting every single person here about a water shortage declaration? Why is there one? Is my biggest question. Because over 3,200 users are no longer on the water system right now. Why are we short water? And if we are, how do you expect to rebuild Lahaina if we're already under a water shortage declaration? I don't understand that. Where is the water? What happened to it? Because I was told, no worries, Lahaina. You already had water meters. You know, we have water allocated for you. But as of May 23rd, West Maui is under a water shortage.
So you're saying
I don't get that.
So you're saying that there is a water shores emergency declaration? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's on the it's a water shortage, emergency water shortage declaration. Wow. Stage 1. There's a stage 2. I think it goes up to stage 4. We're not at that point, but we're at a stage 1. Why are we at any shortage declaration when, again, entire town of Lahaina is not using water right now, like it was, right, when we were in full functioning.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. Okay, climate change. Well, I mean, I know it hasn't been raining as much, but still, no, that, is there water hoarding going on? Are they saying there's no water because they're diverting it to some other uses? I have no idea. But if that's the case, then CWORM is supposed to be involved here. And it should be a bigger public discussion about it. Because water is everything. Mm-hmm. We cannot do a single thing without it. And it's just odd that they would put it in one of the tiniest prints in the back of a newspaper that nobody gets, hardly. And I don't know.
Wow.
So I've mentioned it to the Public Works Department. They weren't even aware. So, like, even the own county departments who have direct relations for water usage has no idea about this water declaration. I'm not making it up. I'm not seeing things. I have the hard copy. I have the paper. And a gentleman, Hans Michael, who takes care of the inlet, the one valley, Kanaha Valley. It's the valley right next to the mountain with the L on it, above Lahaina Luna. Mm-hmm. That valley is where Hans Michael and Auntie Emily Niesman live. They're the caretakers of the intake. Hike back there, clean the intake of debris, branches, leaves, rocks, whatever. Water, the stream flows into that. It gets taken up to the water treatment plant above Lahaina Luna High School, and that gravity feeds down into Lahaina. That is our entire source for Lahaina. Hans Michael, I've given him this copy. He's the one that alerted me. And I went and dug through my old papers. I'm like, yeah, here it is. So he's like, why is this being done? I go, I have no idea, Hans. You're the guy who sees the water every day. He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm interested in why this water shortage declaration is being called. He, the water intake guy, is asking that question. So really, what is going on?
Wow.
We don't know. Yeah, this needs to be brought up into the public eye to be scrutinized. And questions need to be asked and answers need to be given to this community because I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
People should be alarmed if this is truly the case, that we have a water shortage without anyone using it.
Wow.
I don't understand. Yeah.
That is very
So
interesting.
that's a curious thing there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
lots of curious things. Lots of curious things.
I know.
So are you familiar, I'm sure you are, with SB 3381 that died, thank God, the Lele Community District? That whole bill, I have a whole, the book I'm writing is it's finishing up on Wednesday, but that whole bill was quite interesting, for lack of a better phrase, because they were going to take over the entire west coast of Maui to rebuild Lahaina. This group of 9 board members called Lele District, I think it was called, was going to take over the entire west coast of Maui. It was going to be out of the Maui governance, and they were going to have their own governing board, as well as they could also include advisors that were not part of the government. So that was also in this bill. So were you familiar with that bill, SB 3381?
Yeah, I mean, my office and supporters put the call out to kill that thing. I mean, it was like rallied, educated people out there to explain how detrimental this could be, and this has to be killed. And it worked, and thankfully it didn't pass through. But there's no stopping the powers that be to revise or recreate something else that will still try and reach the same end goal, because they're always trying to do that, trying to pull this and word that and create this group and that group, whatever. I think people need to pay attention, because things are happening. It's not always in the public eye. It's not always, it's all closed doors, because there's no sunshine at the state level, and that happens. So
my question,
need to protect themselves.
And my question about that they took off the Sunshine Law, wasn't that I think it was the second emergency proclamation with the housing, that they took off the Sunshine Law? How, like, that takes out the people from seeing what the government's doing. So I don't understand how that could even be legal, like lawful or.
Well, no. So the state imposes the Sunshine Law on everybody else but themselves. So there is no law that the state is breaking with no Sunshine Law, because they don't impose it on themselves. They impose it on county, on boards and commissions, on all these other entities that have to gather and have meetings. They have to be in the public eye. You have to watch who votes and says what, but not with the state. State does not impose it upon themselves. So it's all legal for them to have closed door meetings and just have that, and that happens. And that's the reason why they do it that way. They talk about, open, transparent. No, it's not. And they then put Sunshine Law and post Sunshine Law on yourselves. I worked under it for 8 years as a council member. It happens, and so you can't. But the thing is, we got to change our 60-day working calendar, definitely, because you have to agendize things 6 days out, so people can understand what the meeting is going to be about. You can prepare yourself, write testimony, get educated on the bills or whatever it is. But with 2-day notice, with 48 hours, I mean, wait, what?
Yeah.
People work. People have lives. You cannot keep track of thousands of bills in 60 days. It's just impossible. So, unfortunately, state, you're going to have to work a little longer. You're going to have to work extra days, because the process will be a little more drawn out, a little more detailed, open, and transparent, which is totally doable. That's our job. Why would you not want to keep the voices of the people that you're there to represent involved? I mean, that's how I look at it.
Yep, absolutely.
But they obviously don't, and why they keep no sunshine in place, because they can just quick get together, make decisions, and not tell anybody about it, or just their select cliques about it, and that's really what happens. I know, because I'm there. I'm not making anything up, and I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, no, I see that for sure. And also, I just find it really interesting. Why do you think that the SB 3381 was even created? Like, it doesn't even make sense. Why would they want to take govern over all of West Maui just to rebuild Lahaina when Lahaina is just this one small spot? Why do you think that was put in place? Like, the whole bill is authoritarian. It's absolutely horrendous, and thank God it did die, but that doesn't mean there's not something else coming in the wings behind it. But also, why would they want to do that in the first place? Take over all of West Maui, taking it out of the Maui governance? I don't.
Control. It's totally about control. Control. Yeah, it is. It's about taking over, being in total power and control over it all. There's money in it. There's money, power, and greed in it. Is the bottom line. And leave the voices of the community out, because your select 9 whatever people are making all the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's what the intent, as far as I can tell, was going to be, and what I think government tries to be anyways. And this is going to codify it, put it in a law that allows them to do it, because a lot of them are doing it as we speak anyways, in their ways, you know. But this is going to be an organized, in writing, with bylaws and whatever policies in place to allow it to openly, you know, lawfully be done. So I don't know. Seems like it was a big power play and controlling mechanism for a select few to dictate over, or, you know, the majority of all of us.
Yeah. What do you think about the housing emergency proclamation? 22 days before the fire, July 17th, the governor signed the housing emergency proclamation, and I remember the other person that also approved that as well. He said there are people dying, but there weren't morgues, there weren't 911 calls from homeless people. You know, he spent 6 months creating this housing emergency. He talked to over 200 people to pass this emergency proclamation. He became the first governor in history to state an emergency when there was no natural disaster that was happening. But he did this. I can't remember the number of laws that he suspended. Numerous laws that he suspended. 22 days before the fire. The first one was the historic preservation law. So why do you think he would do that?
I mean, less hurdles, right? Less, I think less obstacles to just wave the magic wand under the guise of let's take care of our homeless crisis situation. And yet nothing came of that. But there are certain, you know, laws in place to protect our cultural sites, our environment, our burials, there's reasons for that. Yeah. Just because, you know, under the guise of this homelessness crisis, you're just going to wipe those laws off the face of the earth. That's not how it should be done, you know. And that was the fear with the Lele thing. That's still the fear on a lot of these emergency proclamations, that, you know, I don't even know what number we're on right now. Mm-hmm. Emergency proclamation. It's just hard to keep up and keep track myself. And to me, just do the right thing. And it's really, I think they're making things way more complicated than it needs to be. It's pretty simple as far as I can see. But there's just too many people, too many hands in the pot, so to speak, that's stirring it up and making it cloudier and murkier, and people just can't keep up with what's being done or not done. Actually, nothing's being done, it seems. I mean, I have to give it up that lots are cleared, infrastructure seems to be coming online on the county's behalf, which is great. You know, I'd like to see this momentum keep growing and continuing. But on a lot of levels, people are leaving daily. They cannot hang on. They cannot wait. They're paying mortgages on homes that are no longer there. It's just the list goes on the hardships. And yet, I think we, the government, should be help subsidizing our people. It's a few thousand. It's not like in the millions of people. It's not all of Maui County people. It's Lahaina people.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You know, so it's not like this huge, horrendous hordes and hordes and hordes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a handful, technically, in the bigger state picture of things. It's a handful of people that have needed the help. And yet, why are we blowing it so out of proportion to where no ends are met? In the end, I mean, when a family has to pack up and leave because they can't hold out, that to me is that, you know, that's a loss and that's a failure on behalf of this government, that you're not taking care of your people, of the residents, you know, and I think that should not be happening. It really shouldn't. With the resources we got, that should not ever have happened, but it is.
The insurance companies, have people had enough insurance to pay for their houses, or what's going on with that?
No, majority of the people, their insurance companies are not. Most people were underinsured. Who thought to think something like this would have happened? Could have happened, either not insured or underinsured, majority. So hence the reason they do not have enough money to rebuild. They don't have enough money to hang out and, you know, hang out and wait for this whole thing to play out. And why I feel like it's government's duty and job then to help assist.
Yeah.
You know, is it to fight the insurance company and tell them, no, listen, this person did pay full premium. This person is entitled to full amount paid out. Because I know a couple people who have the money to fight these insurance companies in court and got their fair share of what is due them, but not everybody has that resource to fight, you know, the insurance companies. Then we the government should be stepping in to help. You know, is how I look at that. But yeah, majority of people do not have, were underinsured or didn't have insurance at all. That's the sad fact of reality right now. So, you know, again, we have rainy day funds. We have all sorts of funding that can help. So why aren't we? Is how I look at it.
And you said you once said you have a stipend that you wanted to move to help the people of Lahaina, and they wouldn't let you. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, in my office, each office has legislative funds, right? You have office money to run your office, to buy equipment, whatever, pay your employees. So during the legislative session, you have enough money to have office managers full-time, and then during legislative session, you can hire 2 more extra people to help you with the legislative session. After the
I'm going to stop it there. You can see, I'll put the link in below. You can see the rest on the Makavalu TV show that I do for Nanaleu TV station here on Big Island. And that runs Sunday and Thursday on channel 53 and 54. And so I do a show once a month, and it's aired every single month. And that was in June. That was the one in June. So this last month, I just want to say so much mahalo to Ellie Cochran. She is the state representative for Lahaina. She grew up in Lahaina. She's still there. She was there through the fire. And she's really frustrated, as she should be, with what is going down and the non-support that is happening with Lahaina. It should not be so hard to support these people. I have, again, written the book, The Great Maui Land Grab, because this fire was not normal. This book has 9 different questionable weather events that you will see in it, with satellite images and links so you can find these satellite images yourself. It also has 23 fire anomalies that leave experts going, what the heck, how did this happen? You'll see these in the book. You'll also see a picture that's nowhere on social media, because I got it from a friend in Lahaina. And then it talks about why this happened. People don't understand that the US is corporatized. And when you have a corporation, somebody owns the corporation. Who owns it? This book is going to share that with you, as well as what is our responsibility as a free people under a constitution, what we can be doing to not only support Lahaina, but to support ourselves.
And one of the things that I highly recommend each one of you who lives in the United States of America, and actually who lives anywhere in the world, look at your planning department. Look at your general plan. That is really important right now, because what they're putting through with the general plan is clustered housing, stakeholder-owned zoning, and so many more. And it is only up to the people to stop this general plan from the United Nations. I mean, it goes all the way up, you guys. It goes all the way up. So if you want to understand what the heck is going on, please, the book is at greatmaui.fire.com, greatmaui.fire.com. 10% goes to Lahaina. I'm actually going to be creating different, whatever it is that I can support them. I know I have personal friends that are there. One personal friend who is underinsured, I want to be supporting her with that, and just find out how this book can support different people in Lahaina, and working with the locals there. So I just send you so much mahalo. Again, I'll have the link in the description if you want to see the entire rest of the video. It is at Nanaleo TV under Makavalu, which is the show, which Makavalu means 8 eyes, 8 different eyes. So seeing things from different perspectives. So I always take a Hawaiian issue, social issue that's happening on the islands, and I try to look at it from different perspectives. In July, we already filmed it, but in July, what'll be the video that's going to be up on Makavalu is about the mosquitoes, the Wabakian mosquitoes that is happening currently on Maui. So Maui has been really the testing ground for what they want to do to these islands, because what happens there affects all of us. And I live on Big Island here. Let's do a prayer, most needed prayer. And I actually had somebody say, who is she praying to? Who I pray to is the infinite creator that created everything. That's beating your heart, breathing your body, moving the sun across the sky, running the tides in the ocean, growing the plants. That's who I pray to. This empty space, this is not empty. This is a frequency field. You know how fish swim through water, but they don't know that there's water. We don't know this is frequency. We walk through it every single day. And our feelings are connected to this field, and it is constant. We're constantly communicating what it is that we want through our frequency. So that's why I pray in the way that I do, because I pray telling this frequency field that we are bringing in peace, we are bringing in freedom, and getting excited about that and saying gratitude, giving gratitude for that already being here. That goes into the field of infinite possibilities. This frequency field, Jesus pulled from it. He did miracles from it. In this frequency field, there's a possibility of raising people from the dead. And that's what Jesus did. You know, Lazarus rise after 3 days of being dead, because the frequency field has infinite possibilities. So there is a possibility right now in this frequency field of peace and freedom and truth being exposed in Lahaina. That is in the field of all possibilities. And that is the consciousness that I pray to. Great Spirit moving the sun across the sky, beating my heart, breathing my body, running the tides and growing the plants. Great Spirit, infinite consciousness of everything that created this planet. That's who I pray to, you guys, because I know for myself the magic of this field of infinite possibilities, and calling forth and giving gratitude for what it is that I want and I see. And that's how I pray. So somebody in one of my other videos was like, who is she praying to? That's who I pray. That's who I pray to. All right. Infinite creator of all things. This is a journey, a game for our souls, our infinite souls that never die. This is a body that is a vessel for my soul to have a human experience. And I give so much gratitude for the knowingness that the truth is lit up in Lahaina and in Maui and in all places around the world that have been attacked. I give so much gratitude for people like Ellie Cochran, who are speaking the truth. So much gratitude for people like Eric West, who keep pushing forward, and Tracy Derwin, who keep telling the truth about what's happening. And the more of us that share this truth, the lighter it gets. It gets brighter and brighter and brighter. And Great Spirit, infinite intelligence of all things, I know that there is an infinite possibility that can happen here. And we choose right now the possibility of peace and of hope and of freedom, of sovereignty, and of totally being taken care of in all ways. And we see the Lahaina people having that as their possibility, having the frequency of being taken care of. Even if they're underinsured, miracles happening. The abundance that they need is already there and showing up for them in ways that they know and in ways they don't know. And Great Spirit, we call that in now, and we give so much gratitude for whatever events and circumstances and people that need to show up, for whatever it is that's showing up for them, show up now with ease and with grace. And we know it is done, Great Spirit. We know it is already completed, that they are taken care of, that these building permits that they are given, and that people know that they are sovereign and that they know that they are free, because that freedom comes from you, Great Spirit. We are free under God, under source of love that created the planet. We are under you, Great Spirit, not under the government. The government serves the people. It goes God, people, government. And we call that reality in now. We call that truth. We call that forth. And we choose to live in that reality where it goes source of all things, God, infinite love, infinite possibilities. And then under that, people who, God, you created, source you created, that we have unalienable rights under God, under infinite source of all possibilities. And the government stands under us. Thank you, Great Spirit, for that reality coming forth. We call that forth now, and we give so much gratitude for whatever circumstances and events need to unfold for that to be reality for all people. We get to watch as those that do not value that do not value human life, are peaceably removed from office, or we get to watch as they voluntarily step down, because that is what is the right thing to do. We call that reality forth now, and we call forth the courage to stand in that truth, in the knowingness that we are under you, Great Spirit. We are under God, not under the government. The government is under us. And we call that forth now. Thank you so much, Great Spirit. We get to watch as that unfolds and the magic that happens, to see this new world as peaceful, as truthful, as all truth is lit up, and the courage that it takes for each person to see it and to have it inspire them toward their kuleana, what is theirs to do at this time. We know that is happening, Great Spirit. Thank you so much for this opportunity to see the world and watch freedom unfold every single day through each person, as each person wakes up to the reality of what's happening and then follows their guided inspiration. Thank you, Great Spirit. We know it is done, and so it is. So again, you can get this book, Great Maui Land Grab, at greatmauifire.com. That's where to get it, greatmauifire.com. I'll leave the link if you want to watch the rest of the video that I did with Ellie Cochran, the interview. And I just send you so much mahalo. Also sending a mahalo to the sponsor of this channel, which is Ace of Coins. If you want to lower your taxes, if you want to learn how to buy Bitcoin tax-free, if you want to learn how to license your biometric data, aceofcoins.com, aceofcoins.com. And if you're listening on the radio, aceofcoins.com, and you can watch the rest or listen to the rest and watch the rest of the interview with Ellie Cochran at Nanaleo TV And I'll leave the link in the description on this YouTube channel. This YouTube channel, for those of you on the radio, is Blossom Inner Wellness. You can go to YouTube, go to Blossom Inner Wellness, and that is where to find this original YouTube video. So I'm sending you all much mahalo, especially mahalo to the Voice of Kona Radio 100.5 FM that does host these on the radio. So mahalo to you. All right, you guys, much aloha.